Yeah, the English building was like wide open.
Hello, welcome to a special edition of Muscatine Viewpoint. I'm your host, Austin Bickford, and with me today I have Vance Crumly.
It's nice to meet you. It's great to be on the show. I look forward to talking about some of the things that I would love to accomplish as a council member, and I want to thank you very much for your invitation.
Yeah, you're always welcome here. Also joining us is my fall friend, our turkey. He's pretty excited for the show. So, Vance Crumly, what is your current job right now? Give the audience a little bit of background about your past experiences with employment and kind of what you've done like in your life and so forth.
Currently, I work at Hy-Vee. Many of you may recognize me. I work in the meat department, customer service. I'm always back there with a smile, trying to help everybody I can. I've been there since 2014. I've also worked for Hahn. I worked for Hahn for 11 years. I've done everything at Hahn from pack out all the way up to management. So I'm familiar with how to work with people to get things done and projects accomplished. I've also worked, before that, I worked at Cracker Barrel, and I know many of you enjoy Cracker Barrel's cooking. Worked with them for about 7 years. And before that, other jobs like Domino's Pizza and other part-time jobs. But that's pretty much my work experience.
Sounds good. Seems like you are a very hardworking man then.
I try to be.
Yeah. So next I'd like to ask you about your hobbies, kind of what you like to do in your free time and just your interests. I know that you from softball. We played Christian League softball and slow pitch and all that, and you're a good pitcher.
I appreciate that.
And you always wore the Mets cap. You're a big Mets fan, New York Mets. But other than that, what interests Vance Crumly, and what's fun to Vance Crumly?
I really love music. I do get together with Ed Chamberlain and Mark Haney. As a matter of fact, when I'm done with this interview, I'm going to be going to Mark Haney's house to kind of jam and do some music. I sing. I've been in several bands with Mark Haney and Ed Chamberlain, so I really embrace the arts. I love the arts. That's one of my passions. I also like to collect sports memorabilia, things like that. So,
like sports cards or posters?
Sports cards, figurines. I have a Mets lunchbox that a friend of mine got me from Shea Stadium, or whatever the stadium in New York is called now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. It's got the big apple in the outfield.
Yep.
And then, why did you decide to run for the 4th Ward that you're running for?
I was originally going to run for mayor, and one of the reasons I was originally going to run for mayor is there's so much in this town, animosity one toward another. I did have a discussion with a friend of mine, and I did find out Bob Bynum was not going to be running in 4th Ward, which I happen to live in. And I thought it might be a good idea for me to get onto the council that way. I would have a vote, plus I would be able to address issues as a council member as opposed to running the operation as a mayor. So I think, and I do want to be a voice of the people of the 4th Ward.
Yeah, you really want to take people's input into consideration and really listen to the people, represent the people.
Absolutely.
That's great. What kind of direction do you think the city council is heading right now? Is it heading more in a positive direction or a negative direction, or kind of neutral, staying the same? And what kind of effect could you have to it?
Well, I think, in all honesty, if you just look, there was a great article in the Times, in the Quad City Times, that talked about how many people are actually getting involved in the race in Muscatine. I mean, there's so many people for each department that's up for a vote. If nothing else, something that may have come out of some of the tension is some of the people in this town being moved to try to make a difference themselves. And that's a positive, I think, that came out of something that could be seen as negative. So.
Yeah, well put. What kind of accomplishments have you had, like with just anything, your jobs, what you do for fun, activities, just what kind of accomplishments have you had?
Well, when I worked at Hahn, I was put on as a lead for many RCIs, which is rapid continuous improvement. And I'm sure there's people watching that are familiar with that who worked at Hahn. Successfully achieved the results they were looking for. So that's one of my strong suits. I know how to get a team together and to go toward a goal and to get that goal accomplished. I don't know if they were trying to put me through the ringer, but there was 1 month at Hahn where I was leading an RCI every week for 3 weeks. And if anybody who doesn't know what that means, you have to work with the team that you're given, get the accomplishment done, and then start the other one. Then you have to go back and look at any other unfinished items that you wanted to do, make sure those get basically not tied up, but finished.
Really a double checking.
It is, absolutely. So you want to talk about multitasking, that probably trial through fire showed that I can multitask. So that was a very, very busy time for me.
Yeah.
I remember it very clearly.
That sounds good. What kind of strengths do you think Muscatine has as a city and as a community?
Well, one of the obvious strengths that we have as a community are the people who live here. I live in the 4th District. The house where I live was directly affected by the tornado that happened in the spring. My neighbor's house took a lot more damage. We took about $20,000 damage. Our neighbor took about $120,000 damage. Now, just seeing how the community came together so quickly, we're cleaning out our yard. Salvation Army, which is in the 4th District, they were down there giving out water, helping people, doing, just a smiling face, giving a bottle of water, and that was quite a lift. Also, some of the strengths, another strength that I think Muscatine has is its beauty. We're sitting on a very beautiful area on the Mississippi River. I think people who grow up here or have lived here for a long time, they kind of take that for granted. But if you go to Weed Park and you stand on that bluff, it's so gorgeous, especially in the fall, with all the beautiful trees that are turning and just the patchwork of colors. That's another strength that we have. I think our history is a strength. First name that comes to mind is Mark Twain. Granted, he only lived here for a few months, but he was an employee of the Journal. That's of note. Another name that comes to mind, love him or hate him, Norman Baker. He was known worldwide. He was a charlatan on some rights, but he also had some very legitimate business ventures like the calliopes that he designed. So I think one of the things we need to do as a community is kind of embrace our history and let people know that, promote it, because I honestly think that could be something that someone would travel to see or to find out about.
Yeah, I see what you mean by the whole beauty of the city, because a lot of people come here from other countries, sometimes even just other states, and they look around, go to the riverfront, and they notice a beauty about Muscatine and really see it. And we just kind of like you said, take it for granted.
Yep.
And they love Muscatine. Like, for example, Chinese people and the relationship we built with the Chinese. A lot of them have been coming over here to stay and work with the China Windows Group. And they have nothing but positive things to say about Muscatine. And they love the beauty of Muscatine.
Absolutely.
And they just love it. It's one of their most favorite places, if not their favorite place of America.
And that's something that we should be able to take pride in.
And Norman Baker, do you kind of take some inspiration from Norman Baker?
I don't know if I take inspiration from Norman Baker, but he's definitely an interesting historical character. KTNT, the radio station, Know the Naked Truth, a lot of people, they'll go up to Mark Twain Outlook, they'll read the plaque, and they'll go, and then that ends it. But take a look and see what Norman Baker did. Like I said, there are many things that he was a charlatan or quite a shyster. He claimed he had a cure for cancer. Obviously we know that wasn't true. But the legitimate business ventures that he did have, these calliopes, so many people used the calliope that he designed. And they're still sought after, very high dollar collectibles this day. And I know people in Muscatine, my good friend Scott Haney, he collects Norman Baker memorabilia, and he could almost be a curator of a museum. And I think if we had something in a museum that touched on Norman Baker, Mark Twain, other historical figures, but those are two of the big names that come to mind.
Yeah. Our own producer of the show, Chad Bishop, is actually filming a film about Norman Baker, to my knowledge. Yep. So you folks might want to check that out in the future. We touched on the strengths of Muscatine. What are some weaknesses that you think exist with Muscatine?
Well, one weakness that comes to mind, I was talking with a truck driver, and works for a Muscatine outfit. He was in Bakersfield, California. He saw Muscatine on the side of the truck, and he goes, "Isn't that the place where they're having all that problems with the mayor and the council?" Yeah, unfortunately, but that doesn't have to be that way. That is a weakness, I feel, because people are seeing a negative light on this town. I don't like that. We shouldn't like that. We shouldn't put up with it. What we need to do is we need to start healing, building bridges, and working with people. Because if we don't, we're going to be not famous, we're going to be infamous. And I don't like the latter. I want to be famous. I would rather be known for the city where, oh, I went to the Rose Bowl and the lights up there, those are made in Muscatine, Iowa, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I went to that NASCAR race at Darlington and the lights were made in Muscatine. I've got a Han filing cabinet in my office. Isn't that made in Muscatine? There's so many positives. But that kind of broke my heart when that truck driver told me about that. I was like, wow.
Yeah,
we need to change that.
Yeah. And also the ketchup factory, Heinz.
Absolutely.
Ketchup is all over the place. Like, I was just at Steak and Shake earlier this week, and they had these red ketchup bottles, big ketchup bottles. And I said to them, "Where do you guys get your ketchup?" And they said, "From Heinz in Muscatine." And I was like, that's where I'm from. That's very interesting. So next, what's one thing that you could really change about Muscatine if you do have the power to, or if you did currently?
I would love to see the pit bull ban gone. If I could just wipe it away, I would. And I would redirect that toward the owners, because it's not right to demonize a breed. Go after the owner who has trained that dog to be that way. I've seen stories, even if a dog, a pit bull, is made to be angry as a fighter, there's police departments in the United States that are rescuing pit bulls and using them as canine officers. They can be retrained. I don't think that just totally vilifying a breed is a good thing. If we look at our past, what other dogs scared us? Oh, a Doberman, German Shepherd, you know. You wouldn't think twice about a German Shepherd, banning a German Shepherd. No, they're very intelligent, they're very nice, gentle, very protective. Pit bulls are very gentle, very nice, very protective. It's how you treat that dog what is going to be the outcome. But it's also been proven by those police departments who have taken those dogs and they have retrained them to be canines. And they wouldn't have them on the police department if they were violent. They're actually a good breed.
Yeah, it goes back to, like you said, the owners entirely.
Yes.
Do you endorse Broderson or Harper, and why?
I really don't know at this point, to be honest. Diane, she is a regular customer at Hy-Vee. She's very nice. I've talked with her. She's a really nice lady. Charlie Harper, I've spent money. I've bought bikes from Charlie Harper. I know them both. It's kind of a, I might not know until I get in there and actually choose, to be honest, because they're two people that I know, and it's going to be difficult for me. It should be difficult for Muscatine as well, because I believe these are decent people.
Yeah.
And it's going to come up to who do you want? Well, for example, I'm a friend of Freetag, who's running in the 4th Ward. You know, we don't sit there and bash skulls. We have a lot of the same viewpoints. I think people can be civil and run, and if he wins, you know, I'll support him 100%. If Nadine wins, I'll support her 100%. If I win, I would hope I would have their support.
Yeah, for the better of the community.
Absolutely.
And the city, definitely.
Yeah. So we don't have to sling mud. We don't have to claw each other. We can exist, and what it comes down to is for the betterment of this community.
Yeah, well said. Now, should anybody be fired or voted out of council, do you think, currently?
I honestly think that is for the people who are voting to decide. As far as firing, there is no position on the council that you can fire. The only thing that can be fired that is associated to the council is the city administrator. Now, there is a very negative viewpoint toward our city administrator. I personally, I don't know the man. If I get elected, I would like to get to know him. I mean, that's going to come with the job. I don't want to make my decision on ignorance. I want to make a decision based on fact and things that I have seen. Too many people, good and bad, defending or vilifying. I don't know if they know him, so I really cannot make an educated decision on that. I do not know him, so that's something that I would hope that I would get the chance to.
Yeah, definitely. Next, only 61% of people working in Muscatine actually live in Muscatine. Would you want to change that, or how do you feel about that?
It doesn't really bother me because if we've got good companies in Muscatine, we should want people coming to our community, because ultimately those people are buying gas in our community, they're buying lunch in our community. Even though they aren't living in Muscatine, they're spending their dollars in this town.
Yeah, inputting to the community.
And that's a good thing. I don't see that as a problem, no.
Yeah. Next, how could you reduce crime? What do you think would be a good solution to reducing crime in the community?
I think an honest and very well organized neighborhood watch program. I know you go around town and you kind of see the signs, some areas, but are they really where they're needed? And where are the neighborhood watch programs? You know, who do you call? Who do you contact? Is there somebody that's organizing those things? These are things that we need to find out, and I think a very strong community watch program could take care of a lot of that, because it's the people living there who are taking the ownership of their community and trying to fight and combat crime. I'm not talking vigilantism. I am talking about monitoring things and getting in touch with the authorities when needed.
Yeah, some more input than just the police department.
The more eyes you have out there looking, the better. And then you have witnesses. So you can actually benefit from community watch programs because you have someone who may have witnessed the event because they were patrolling that area. And that would be do nothing but help law enforcement.
Yeah, so earlier we were talking about China and how more of China has been visiting here and making a connection with us. Do you see that as a more of a good thing or bad thing?
If they're going to come here, I welcome them, because very similar to the individuals that are living outside of Muscatine, working in Muscatine, they're spending their money here. If they come here for a vacation, there's a hotel being built, and that's good. That's going to put people in Muscatine to work. That's going to benefit Muscatine businesses. That's going to benefit the downtown. That's going to benefit everything in this town. We're going to see money being spent and income being used in this town.
Yeah, do you think with that hotel being built that it'll make some of the other hotels maybe go down in business or go out of business possibly?
I don't know. There's not a really elegant hotel in this town, and I think that people who would come to vacation, they want to have like an elegant destination, and I think will benefit that area, because not that I've seen, we haven't seen a lot of for the prices and the things like that in those hotels, the other hotels. I don't think they're going to see a hit, because I don't believe people would be staying in those hotels anyway that would be coming for that experience.
Yeah. So do you think this new hotel will kind of fit the bill of this elegant picture that?
I hope so. I really do. And if we can attract foreign visitors to our humble community, I would say let's get it done.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't just help Muscatine, but it helps the whole country have a better bond with China and another country. What could be an asset?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on parking in Muscatine? Like, do you think it's overpriced or not enough hours by what we pay?
The problems I'm seeing with downtown, and I can speak from experience because I worked for the computer doc, Mark Haney's computer store, and he did have a shop down on 2nd Street. There was 2-hour limit parking, but there wasn't good patrolling of it. So a lot of people who worked in the area, I've noticed they might park here and kind of wait. There's not even, there may have been, but I didn't see it a lot. Someone walking by chalking the tire just to make sure that they're not staying there too long. But a lot of times somebody will move that works at some place downtown, move their car to different areas. I'd like to see the people that work and the business owners from downtown park at the riverfront, which is what I thought was supposed to be happening. And that would free up, I believe, parking for the customers, because they're shooting themselves in the foot. If they run a business and there's no parking for that business, somebody's going to go somewhere else. So,
yeah, definitely.
So let's, but with that being said, I think it was a great idea to take the meters off downtown. That does help. That does encourage people to come down there and shop.
Yeah, right down 2nd Street.
Yeah, and another idea, speaking of downtown, I would like to possibly explore the idea of having a ped mall downtown. If we can look at Rock Island and Iowa City communities that are very close to us, and what their pedestrian mall has created and brought to that community. You can have events, you can have kiosks, you can have music, a lot of different festivals. And I think that would be something that could be explored.
Yeah, definitely. So what are your thoughts on the city construction, development, and designs? There's been a lot of construction lately, and it's been all over the place.
I was just
South End to downtown Muscatine to out around McDonald's to out around the movie theater. It's just been all over the place, and roads being closed or whatever. What do you think of that and development, and also the design and process and how they're doing these changes in construction?
First of all, to the road construction, anybody who's lived in Muscatine for any amount of time, it's about time that we're seeing the roads worked on. I think it's welcome to a point, but I also hear the inconvenience that it happens, but you kind of have to,
Good song.
You have to actually be patient. You can't expect that to go on without there being some slowdown. Another thing that is that would actually be beneficial, and I've seen it, some of the construction that they've done. Oh, it fell off. All right. Some of the things that I've seen is the what they finished on the riverfront. I think it looks good. I've seen the plan for it. My brother, who is originally from this area, he lives in northeastern Pennsylvania now. He went on the city website and looked at it, and he's like, "Wow, that looks great. It's about time they did something to beautify that." So I think it's a positive direction that that's stepping toward, and beautifying the riverfront.
Yeah, sure. Do you think that any other work should be done with the riverfront, or just leave it as is?
I'd kind of like to see something that performing arts could have a venue. There used to be a really good stage down currently now where the boat launch and all that parking is, and they got rid of it for the boat launch and the parking. possibly look in the other direction with maybe a stage. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
So a place where people can perform.
Yeah, have concerts.
Yeah.
Karaoke, anything of that nature.
Well, I don't know about karaoke, but
yeah.
having bands come in.
Yeah, definitely.
And
you're a member of a band, you said?
currently, we're not really a band. We just kind of get together and jam a little bit. I've played out locally in the past. So,
do you think you could make a good act for being on the riverfront, doing a show?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pat myself on the back by any stretch, but I have been told that we sound pretty good.
Yeah. So, can you address your fellow residents of Muscatine and address why they should vote for you and what makes you a good candidate?
I had a meet and greet at Musserville Methodist Church a couple of days ago. I had an individual come down. She was from actually this part of town up by the mall. And I appreciated that. And I let her know. And I let everybody who came to talk with me know. I understand that as a 4th Ward council member, I want to be the voice of the 4th Ward. But I also understand that if elected, my vote does not just affect the 4th Ward. My vote does affect everybody else in Muscatine. So even though I would be a 4th Ward council member, I am committed to doing what's right for Muscatine as well.
Very good. So this was a special edition of Muscatine Viewpoint, and thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Thank you, folks. Bye.